Welcome to the amazing Spider-Man right here at the Comicstorian channel. This is where we take your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to allow you to understand what is going on as we read it dramatically back to you. The idea here is so that you can catch up on your favorite comic books and go pick up the next issue. Now, this is the amazing Spider-Man storyline that is currently in continuity, and we've already followed along with Peter Parker's new beginnings as he is a student back in college. He then fought against Kraven in the Hunted storyline. He then teamed up with Spider-Man 2099, and now we're going to find out about his roommate, Boomerang, in an interesting storyline in which they get a pet for their apartment. I hope you guys enjoy, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you do enjoy, and I'll see you at the end of the video. Spider-Man's life takes a little bit of getting used to. First, there was a radioactive Spider-Man, then he could stick to walls. It was kind of an adjustment. And right now, well, Spider-Man is currently in the sewers punching vermin. Not singular, plural, but they have the same name. The original was already a nasty piece of work, but throw in some cloning and you've got yourself a whole mess of a problem. All of that takes some getting used to, but you know what's not going to be easy for Spider-Man? Teaming up with your roommate, who also happens to be a supervillain and also happens to be Boomerang. Partners in not crime? Hopefully. It would stand to reason that they'd have some sort of partnership, seeing as a lot of people are trying to kill them at the same time. People wanted to kill Spider-Man because, well, he's Spider-Man. Boomerang, however, people wanted to kill him mostly because he had something that Kingpin wanted real bad. It all started when Boomerang took down a Hydra helicarrier all on his own, and the city was throwing him a parade. But during his celebration, there was an old man in the crowd who shouted that he needed Boomerang's help. Boomerang blew it off, but only until the man mentioned something about an object that was too powerful and too priceless. And when you say something is too powerful and too priceless, well, that should have been something you opened with. So Boomerang agrees to help the old man, and the man says that he worked in the city for over 50 years in the public records department. His job was to catalog all of the mystical artifacts and treasures that have found their way into New York. Everything was going well until Kingpin became the mayor. Some people would say that Kingpin became mayor just to learn where all of these artifacts are being kept, or at least one in particular, the Lifeline tablet. So those who don't already know, the tablet was a weird, ancient, mystical, Lumerian artifact of enormous and annoying power. While it was first on display at the Empire State University, Kingpin managed to get his enormous hands on it. However, it actually ended up falling into the hands of another mob boss, Silvermane. Silvermane translated the inscription into a formula that he thought would turn back the clock, except it worked a little too well. The tablet was then passed to a few others. But ultimately, it got picked up by Doctor Strange, who banished it into another dimension. Funny enough, the tablet returned, broken, and it's in pieces hidden all over the city. The old man kept a record of where those pieces were, but not on paper. He couldn't risk it. So after learning a spell from Doctor Strange, the old man enlightened Boomerang with the knowledge of how to find this broken tablet. The thing is, the old man wasn't the only one who knew of the tablet's return. So did Kingpin, which is why he wants Boomerang so badly. Since then, Spider-Man and Boomerang have made a deal. They'll go on a little adventure collecting the pieces so that they can be rid of it once and for all. They looked high and low, which is why they are now in the sewers to begin with. But while fending off the swarm of vermin, they suddenly stop after hearing something. Sadly, spiders didn't have crazy good hearing that would alert him to them coming, because if they did, he would have been smart and they would have run like rats into the sewer. That's when his spider sense would go crazy as a giant-sized Gog comes crashing in. Spider-Man has faced off against Gog in the past. Usually, baddies use him as a heavy to send in. He was even in the Sinister Six at one point. But now that leaves a question as to why Gog is even here. During Gog's last encounter, Reed Richard used Pym particles to shrink Gog down and return him to his own dimension, but why is he back and worse than ever? Well, Gog's story started a long time ago on a faraway planet. His kind, the Tussalin, grew to be very large and are typically used as soldiers, but when taken into certain realms, they remain quite small. Not to mention friendly, intelligent, and loyal. Gog loved his boy owner. He would spend all day and night with him. They would eat, they would play, and everything a boy would want to do with his pet. But one day, a war broke out and Gog quickly stood up to protect the boy. However, the boy's mother ended up having to separate him and Gog. During their escape, Gog's ship was shot down, and he fell to the earth where he was found by someone else, Kraven. Kraven raised Gog like one of his own, and without the alien dimension restricting his size, Gog grew. A lot. Eventually, Spider-Man came by and trapped Gog while he was protecting Kraven. But when he couldn't protect Kraven, his sadness, well, it turned to anger. And soon after being used and passed around by so many of the city's villains, Gog met Reed Richards. Reed knew the type of creature that Gog was, and he wanted to send him back home. He really did. But as Gog returned to the alien world, it was still in the middle of the war. Through all of those laser blasts and those explosions, Gog saw the boy, and his first instinct was to protect him. When the boy realized that Gog had returned, he was filled with happiness and joy. However, in that brief moment, the boy was killed. Gog cried as he laid with the boy, and the war continued to rage on. And once those guns fell silent, the boy's mother looked down at her poor son. She thought that she could give him a better life. The tablet was supposed to give her power, but it only brought more death. So the mother shattered the tablet and told Gog to take the fragments and hide them, to make sure to keep one and protect it though, just as he did with the boy. And now Spider-Man and Boomerang are looking for those fragments. It is beginning to make a lot more sense as to why Gog is here. Boomerang snatches up the piece of the tablet, stating that he has an idea. Run! And he rockets out of the sewers as Spider-Man tells him to wait, but Boomerang doesn't listen. And what happens is exactly what Spider-Man didn't want to have happen. Gog followed Boomerang topside. So after webbing out and making sure that none of the debris falls on the civilians, Spider-Man hears the call of the Kingpin, or at least Mayor Wilson Fisk. Fisk stands with his army, calling out that they have nothing to fear. Mayor Fisk is here to help. Spider-Man thinks that it is a little convenient that Fisk just so happens to be in the neighborhood with the military. Surely it has nothing to do with why Gog is here. Soon the soldiers open fire on Gog, pelting him with bullets and firing cannon shells into his stomach. This makes Gog sad. He's only trying to protect. Seeing this, Spider-Man accidentally webs up two of the military helicopters and accidentally causes them to crash into a tank. He turns his attention to Fisk, but then is suddenly punched by three large fists belonging to Gog. He shakes it off, stating that he was trying to help Gog. And Boomerang yells that he's got his back, and he throws a boomerang. Gog sees the spinning boomerang, and he thinks back to when he was with the boy, and he excitedly tries to follow it. And after chomping down and catching it midair, he rushes back to Boomerang so he can throw it again, which gives Spider-Man an idea. He tells Boomerang to use his sleeperang and throw it down into the truck below. Boomerang does as he's told, but he asks why. Gog is just going to smash the truck, and Spider-Man says that that's the thing. Reed Richards gave Gog a healthy dose of Pym particles. Those particles should still be in his system, meaning he can probably shrink himself back down, provided he has a reason to want to. Gog jumps in the back of the truck, shrinking in size, and as he bites down on the boomerang, the sleep gas is released. As Spider-Man goes to capture Gog, Boomerang says that he's kinda cute, and they have been talking about getting a... Spider-Man stops him. No, we are not taking Gog as a pet. Boomerang asks what's the alternative, hand him over to the military? And so, Spider-Man decided to give Gog a home, after making sure to design an inhibiting collar that would make sure that Gog doesn't size up again. Perhaps it's Spider-Man's responsibility complex that brought the two together, like this. But seeing Gog like this, he can't help but sense some stuff. Just a feeling that they both know what it's like to lose everything. That they're both just trying to do what's right in the face of those tragedies. And hoping that they can find others to care for as they move on. So yeah, Peter Parker, well, Spider-Man, he got a house pet. And thus far, gotta admit, it's pretty amazing. Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Amazing Spider-Man right here at the Comicstorian channel. Issues 41, 42, and 43 are now covered, which is going to bring us into the next big story arc that Nick Spencer covered, Sin's Rising, which was really interesting. I enjoyed it a lot, and I hope you will as well. If you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. You can also get early access to it by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian. It's through our Patreon that we're able to survive when the algorithm does crappy stuff like it's doing right now. So thank you guys so much for your support, and I will see you next time right here.